Try to pay attention for a moment. Some people count down the days until their birthdays. They prepare cakes, blow out candles, and post radiant stories. And in that moment, they feel seen. But others, when that day comes, there's no post, no announcement, and no one even knows. They quietly work, eat an ordinary meal, and let their birthday pass as if it never existed. Why is that? Is it because they've grown up and no longer need noise? Or because, deep down, they once hoped and were disappointed enough to stop hoping? We often think birthdays are about joy, but for some people, they are a mirror showing them the depth of their loneliness and the truth of how they are treated. If you've ever quietly passed through your own birthday, you may understand this feeling, wanting to be remembered, yet fearing being forgotten. Wanting to be loved, yet fearing no one cares. So in the end is not celebrating a sign of coldness or a delicate scar of the soul they themselves can't even see. Stay here, because when we understand the reason behind that silence, we also begin to understand the deepest part of ourselves. Imagine this. A child sits in a small room, in front of a tiny cake, a few candles, eyes filled with hope that someone will walk in and say, "Happy birthday." But the door doesn't open, no footsteps come, only the flickering candlelight remains in the silent room, then fades away. That child learns something no one ever teaches, that joy doesn't always arrive, and sometimes waiting only brings pain. Years later, as an adult, they'll say, "Birthdays don't matter to me," but in truth, that sentence isn't indifference. It's a defense mechanism, a way to avoid feeling forgotten again. Psychology calls this learned helplessness. When we experience enough disappointment, the brain learns to turn off expectation. Like a bird that once knew how to fly, but after crashing into the cage too many times, stops spreading its wings even when the doors open. And so, the birthday, the day meant to be about love, becomes the day one wishes to hide. Not because they don't want joy, but because joy is something they once paid for with pain. So if you meet someone who says they don't care about their birthdays, don't assume they're emotionless. Look a little deeper. You might see a child from long ago, still sitting in that same room. Only this time, they've learned to blow out the candles on their own and quietly wish themselves peace. When a certain pain repeats long enough, a person stops trying to escape it. They begin to build a home inside the wound. Those who were once forgotten. At first, they only wanted to protect themselves from disappointment, but over time, that protection turns into an invisible armor. They no longer wait for a happy birthday message, no longer feel the sting when no one remembers. They tell themselves, "It's okay, I'm used to it." But within that sentence lies a quiet weight of sadness that only those who've lived it can understand. They choose silence, because speaking brings no understanding, and expecting only deepens the emptiness. Gradually, silence becomes armor, a quiet armory, shielding them from hurt, but also keeping them from feeling joy. From that point on, they stopped celebrating not just birthdays, but their very life. Each passing year is no longer a mark of having lived more, but simply another day of existing. And the subtlest tragedy lies here. When we wear armor too long, we eventually forget what it feels like to touch the light. No one becomes cold on purpose. People only grow quiet after being warm for too long without being received. So they learn to move through life in silence as a way to survive in this noisy world. If you ever meet someone like that, don't try to break their armor. Just stay gently and truthfully. Because sometimes your quiet presence is the most profound birthday wish they've ever received. There are people who appear powerful. They smile when they're forgotten and say with calm composure, "I'm used to it. It's okay." But behind that serenity is a long process of stitching their heart back together. They've been hurt so deeply that they no longer want to allow anyone the chance to hurt them again. So they choose to stop waiting for someone to remember them, stop waiting for someone to care, stop waiting for something warm enough to make them believe again. At first glance, it looks like maturity. But if you look closely, it isn't the light of maturity. It's the shadow of emotional numbness. Those who were once too sensitive become desensitized just to survive. They no longer expect joy, but neither do they know how to truly feel happy. That is the most subtle cost of being strong. Sometimes, in order to survive, we must adopt a cold demeanor. But when we become too skilled at enduring, we forget that being vulnerable is also a form of freedom. And so, those who were once warm become composed. Those who were once eager become quiet. Those who once waited for love become unattached. No one notices that. Within their "I don't need anyone" lies the quiet sigh of a heart once forgotten. Maturity, occasionally, is not about learning to endure, but it's about learning to open up again, without the fear of being hurt. There's another kind of person. They are not sad, not hurt, just busy. Too busy to realize that today is their birthday. Too busy to pause in the middle of a long day and ask themselves, "Am I really living?" Modern life has turned everything into a race. Each morning when they open their eyes, their mind is already pulled into dozens of things to do. Deadlines, meetings, messages, emails, responsibilities, and plans. They run and keep running until they lose all sense of time. They eventually lose all sense of time, as well as their own identity. Psychology calls this phenomenon time blindness. This phenomenon is commonly referred to as the loss of time perception. When the brain is overloaded by constant stimulation, it loses the ability to feel the depth of a moment. Each day becomes a copy of the last. Each year passes without us truly being in it. And so, birthdays come and go, not because people forget, but because no one truly feels them anymore. The special day stops being special because the heart has been buried beneath schedules. People often say, "I don't feel as joyful as I used to." But happiness hasn't disappeared. It just can't find space between all the busyness. When we live too fast, we lose the ability to see beauty in small things, to sense the sacredness of the ordinary. The modern world teaches us to know so many things, but makes us forget the art of stopping. And sometimes, only when we stop long enough, can we hear the faintest whisper inside, "I'm still here. I still want to live meaningfully." That's when, in the midst of the endless motion, a person suddenly realizes it's not that time is passing too quickly. It's that we've stopped living inside each moment. There is a special kind of person, one who is neither hurt nor busy and does not need a crowd to feel important. They know today is their birthday, yet they keep working, read a book, pour themselves a cup of tea, and smile softly. No one congratulates them, but they feel no lack, because they have found something many spend their whole lives searching for: inner peace. When you've once been praised by the crowd and later felt the emptiness that follows applause, you understand. Joy that comes from the outside is only a spark, but peace within is a flame that never goes out. Psychology calls this self-determination theory, the theory of inner autonomy. That lasting happiness comes from three things: autonomy, competence, and inner fulfillment. Those who live this way don't need a special day to feel loved because they've learned how to love themselves properly, not through flowers, not through cakes, but through a deep appreciation for the life they are living. They don't wait for praise to feel enough, nor for someone's memory to feel they exist, because they understand true worth doesn't come from being seen by others, but from no longer needing to prove it. And so, their birthday is not a day to be remembered, but a day to thank themselves. No brightness, no noise, just a quiet, profound kind of happiness, the kind only those who have once felt lost in this world can truly recognize as precious. When you look at how someone faces their birthday, you're not just seeing one day of the year. You're looking into a mirror reflecting their entire inner world. The person who eagerly awaits that day may be someone longing to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be loved among the crowd, while the one who chooses to pass it quietly may have reached a level of freedom where they no longer need anyone else to affirm their worth. But both are right. Because in truth, every way of living is a stage in the evolution of emotional maturity. In the early stage, people find joy in being remembered by others. At a deeper stage, they begin to remember themselves, and one day, they finally understand. To be remembered by others is joy, but to be understood by yourself is happiness. The way we see our own birthday is the way we see our right to exist. Some are still searching for proof that they are worthy. Some have stopped needing to prove it. A birthday, in the end, is simply a day we use to reflect on our relationship with life itself. Some use that day to long for love, some use it to learn how to love themselves, and some simply smile, realizing that as long as they are still breathing, every day is another chance to be born again. When you understand that, you'll see a birthday is no longer an event, but a metaphor for the level of awakening within your soul. When we were children, birthdays were the day we were remembered. They were laughter, cake, gifts, proof that we held a place in someone's heart. That child didn't care how time passed. As long as someone said, "Happy birthday," the whole world lit up. But as we grew older, things began to change. We slowly realized that not everyone would be there to remember, and not everyone carried enough space in their hearts to think of us. At first, that realization hurt. Then, we learned to accept it. And at some quiet point in our lives, we suddenly understood, maybe birthdays aren't for others to remember me, but for me to remember myself. That is the paradox of maturity. When we stop waiting for wishes from the outside, we begin to hear the deepest wish from within. Thank you for making it through all these years and still being here. When we still need someone to make us feel special, we are still living through the reflection of others. But when we can look back at our life and say, "I'm proud of myself," that is when we truly begin to live for who we are. No candles, no parties, just a single quiet moment, watching time flow gently by and smiling because we finally understand that living one more year is not something to take for granted. That is the birthday of the soul. It doesn't need anyone to celebrate it, only for us to be awake enough to realize we are still here. We still know how to love. There will come a morning when you wake up without needing anyone to say, "Happy birthday," without needing your phone to ring, without needing anyone to remember you. And yet, you still feel at peace. Not because you've become indifferent, but because you've released the need to feel special. You realize that today is just as precious as yesterday, and tomorrow will be just as worth living as today. There is no day that is more special, because every day carries its own quiet miracle. Letting go is not giving up. It is realizing that you don't need to hold on to feel enough. You don't need to prove yourself to be loved. You don't need to be remembered for knowing you exist. Those who are truly at peace don't wait for their birthdays to celebrate because they have learned to celebrate the small, ordinary moments of life. A warm cup of coffee, a breezy afternoon, a hug from someone you love, a single deep breath. All of these can be birthdays, because when your mind is awake, everything becomes a gift. No candles, no flowers. All that remains is your complete presence in this present moment. That is when birthday ceases to be a date and becomes a state of being. Those who reach this depth understand that life doesn't need to be dazzling to have meaning. It only needs to be still enough for you to feel every breath of it. When you no longer need a special day to see how beautiful life is, that is when you have truly begun to live. And now, as we've reached the end of this journey, pause for a moment, not to listen to me, but to listen to yourself. What is a birthday, truly? A day to be celebrated by others, or a day to celebrate the simple fact of your existence? We have passed through childhood's anticipation, youth's disappointment, adulthood's busyness, and finally arrived at the quietest place of the soul, where we realize that the most sacred thing is not found in others' attention, but in our ability to truly see ourselves. When you still need others to make you content, you are still living outside of yourself. But when you can smile in silence and feel your heart overflow with gratitude, that is when you have truly grown. Ask yourself, where are you seeking joy? In the loud wishes, or in the stillness of the midnight hour, where you simply sit and feel, I'm still here, I'm still alive. Because in the end, every song, every party, every candle will fade away. Only one light can never be extinguished. This is the light of presence. When you no longer wait for anyone else to celebrate your existence, that is when you have truly become the author of your life. And perhaps the most beautiful birthday, there has never been a day others remembered you, but the day you awakened to remember yourself.